here on stage with you guys today. I'd like to talk about something very specific. Everyone talks about messaging, everyone talks about digital channels, everyone talks about chatbots, and all that is super cool. But the real question is, how do you make your human agents collaborate with your chatbot so that you get the best possible customer experience for your beloved customers? What I'd like to start with is why using a chatbot in the first place, because everyone here is convinced we need one. But you might want a chatbot for the wrong reasons. If you want a chatbot because your stakeholders told you need one, or because your competitors have one, it's probably not the right reason to go through with it. But I've identified 4 very good reasons to go with a chatbot. My first one is chatbots are just going to boost your availability. You might not have 24/7 agents, they might not be able to respond instantly, but with a chatbot, your company suddenly becomes available all the time for your customers on multiple channels. Reason number 2, it's about the workload of your agents. Now, chatbots are not holy grail, and they're not going to replace 100% of what your agents do today. But with the right chatbot, you're going to be able to reduce the workload by somewhere between 20 and 30% depending on the case study. The third reason is that chatbots are just going to acquire lots of information, contextual information, personal information that will just give the right context once a human agent takes over and try to help your customers. And for me, the most interesting reasons for which you should have a chatbot is that unlike what some people would tell you, chatbots are going to replace everyone, there's going to be loss of jobs. The way I see it, actually chatbots are just improving human agents. Why? Because all the redundant questions, all the low value questions that come over and over that are not very exciting for your human agents, the chatbot is going to manage it. And the human agent is going to be able to deal with more complicated and value-added questions. So we want a chatbot, that's fine. But what are the keys to success with a proper chatbot? I've identified 2 here. The first one, I always tell people you should go with what I call a microbot. So let me explain what a microbot is. A chatbot is not going to be something that does everything from the floor to the ceiling, because it just does not exist. An efficient chatbot is a chatbot that has been defined for one very specific scope. So here, if I would take the example of a train line company, for instance, we could define that the chatbot is going to have a main scope that's going to be when is the next train, information about train traffic, and so on. And then there's going to be the extended scope. The extended scope is going to be, why is my train delayed? What is happening? If you have this very precise scope to start with and your chatbot focuses on this, it's going to be able to answer probably 90%, 99% of all the questions coming in within that tiny circle. And then you should be able also to handle slightly broader questions because you built it for it. But then there are all the other questions around it. The default questions, how long have you guys been in business? How many employees? What is your turnover? Whatever other questions you might have that the chatbot may not be able to answer. But if you've defined it with a very specific scope, it will understand that this question needs to be passed to a human agent, and you avoid deception. And then there is all the small talk, are you a bot? How old are you? Do you have a bot girlfriend? This kind of stuff that actually come very often when you have a chatbot. If your chatbot is able to identify it because you gave it a very specific scope in the first place, once again, you're going to avoid deception. That is the first key to success with chatbot. The second one, according to me, is even more important. It's how do I make sure there is collaboration between the machine and the human agent? And I'm saying this for a very simple reason. Regardless how wonderful your chatbot is today, there's going to be situations where it just can't answer because the question is not asked properly, because it's outside of the scope. And in this situation, when the chatbot is overwhelmed, the question is, how do I pass this conversation seamlessly from the machine to the human agent that's going to be able to satisfy your customer and delight them in any situation? That is where Dimelo comes in. So Dimelo, if I had to explain what we're doing today, I would say that we are an omni-digital customer care platform. To make it simple, we allow enterprises to connect on all existing digital channels that are favored by their customers. I'm talking about messaging apps such as Apple Business Chat, Messenger, WhatsApp, and so on, but also social media. I'm talking about email, I'm talking about live chat, I'm talking about in-app messaging and all those digital channels. Basically what we do is that we create the link between your company and your customers on all digital channels. Today, Dimelo has agents in 65 countries around the world. We work with 72 different languages and we work with over 100 enterprises around the globe. We work with multiple logos you've probably seen around here. I've listed some in the region. We work with telcos because you have large volume of messages, because they have real pain points. We work with insurances that want to get closer to their customers. We work with banks like BNP that has real issues with security. We work with people in the transport industry, in retailers, in utilities, and so on. So I've talked about Omni Digital Platform, but maybe I need to explain what that is all about. An Omni Digital Platform is a platform that's going to connect all the different channels I've talked about earlier and bring it all into one single interface. Once that is done, you have the ability to allocate messages automatically through artificial intelligence to either human agents or chatbots based on your rules, based on your company's policies. So how does it work concretely? We become completely channel agnostic. Whichever the channels your customers want to use, we receive the message. The message gets inside the platform, and through NLP and artificial intelligence, we understand the language of the message and the content of the message. Then we can allocate messages very quickly to the right agent with the right skill. We can allocate some of the messages automatically to your chatbot and then transfer it seamlessly to the right agent when the time comes. I wanted to show you very quickly a case study we have with an agent with a company in the energy sector. They used to have more than half of their messages coming through messengers. And then they decided, okay, we're going to build a chatbot just to take care of a small portion of this. They built their chatbot just to deal with subscriptions on Messenger, and the chatbot started to answer to 3,000 conversations each single month. And the way it worked is because they followed the two rules I gave you earlier, they now managed to have over 90% of this 3,000 conversation managed entirely by the chatbot, and the few 10% remaining are passed back to a human agent that is able to handle it and satisfy customers. We work with multiple chatbot partners around the world, and I invite you to visit us at the Dimelo booth that's just there to give you some additional information if you'd like to. Just to finish with this, I'd like to show you some key takeaways that might be helpful just to make sure you don't leave that room without all that information. Oh, sorry. Thank you very much, everyone.